Hey everyone, and welcome. So, if you're a college student or a young adult trying to figure out this wild and sometimes totally overwhelming ride we call early adulthood, you've landed in exactly the right spot. Today, we're diving into this awesome explainer, breaking down a really powerful message about the sheer, undeniable force of self belief. Because, look, the years you're in right now, they're about so much more than just scraping by for a degree or ticking boxes on a resume. This specific phase of your life is basically a crucible. It's where you discover who you really are and build the exact character you're going to carry with you forever. The choices you make today, literally right here, right now, are actively shaping the doors that will open for you tomorrow. So we're going to unpack exactly how you can grab the steering wheel and take control of that whole process. Okay, let's dive into this. When we look at super successful people, it's so incredibly easy to just assume, right? To think they were born with some magic combination of extreme luck, endless wealth, or just raw, untouchable talent. But the text we're analyzing today tells a vastly different story, and it's actually a pretty huge relief. The reality is that every single person we look up to started out as just an ordinary individual. What separated them from the pack wasn't that they never felt fear or uncertainty. No way. It was their extraordinary determination. Real success fundamentally comes down to the active decision to just keep moving forward, even when the path ahead is completely muddy and feels impossible. They faced the critics, they faced the rejections, and they pushed through it anyway. But hey, keeping that forward momentum, way easier said than done, especially nowadays. And that brings us to the very first major hurdle of this journey. I want you to ask yourself and be brutally honest here. Are you comparing your timeline to someone else's? In our hyper-connected world, social media acts like this crazy 24/7 highlight reel of everyone else's victories. You scroll through your feed and it looks like literally every single one of your peers is landing their absolute dream internship, graduating early, or backpacking across the globe, while you might be sitting there feeling like you're just falling behind. This modern anxiety is completely paralyzing, and it's a trap every single one of us falls into at some point. So, how do we fix this? We have to completely reframe our perspective. Comparing yourself to random people on social media literally robs you of your happiness and your confidence. It just makes you feel inadequate about a journey that is uniquely yours. Your timeline absolutely doesn't have to match someone else's. If you want a surefire way to guarantee amazing personal growth, you need to shift all that focus to your one and only true competition, who you were yesterday. When your past self becomes your focus, all that external noise just vanishes. If you're just a tiny bit better, a little bit wiser, or a fraction stronger than you were 24 hours ago, you are winning. Over time, that daily incremental improvement is going to absolutely amaze you. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely flips our traditional everyday understanding of failure. I mean, so many students just stop chasing their dreams cold because they have this crippling fear of messing up. But let's really look at this definition here. Failure is not the opposite of success. Actually, scratch that, it's fundamentally a core part of success. It is a lesson. Every single mistake you make is actually handing you something incredibly valuable. You've got to stop looking at a failed exam or a rejected job application as a giant red stop sign. Instead, start viewing it as raw data that's prepping you for a much, much stronger comeback. Thousands. Just pause and really let that number sink in for a second. That is an enormous, mind-boggling amount of attempts. Specifically, this points back to the legendary story of Thomas Edison. When Edison was trying to invent the electric light bulb, he didn't just try, 5 or 6 times and throw in the towel. He conducted thousands of unsuccessful experiments. Imagine facing that level of repeated, daily defeat, just sitting there in the dark, literally and metaphorically, over and over again. But here's the punchline, and it's a massive perspective shift that can legitimately change your life. He didn't call those attempts failures. He called them lessons. He realized that every single dud taught him one more way not to build a light bulb, which actually brought him one step closer to the real solution. I want you to apply this exact mindset to your own daily grind and your academic setbacks. When you get a bad grade or absolutely bomb an interview, do not label it a failure. Label it a lesson. Analyze it, learn what went wrong, and use that knowledge to completely illuminate your next attempt. Which brings us nicely to the actual day-to-day mechanics of achieving your goals, what I like to call the true arsenal of success. Now, a lot of people rely almost entirely on motivation, but here's the secret. Motivation will only inspire you for a day. It's just a feeling, and feelings, they're fleeting. Some days you wake up ready to absolutely conquer the world, and other days you just want to hit snooze 5 times and hide under the covers. That is exactly where discipline steps in. Discipline is the engine that keeps you moving forward every single day, completely regardless of how you happen to feel when your alarm goes off. Genuine success demands this kind of steadfast, No excuses discipline.
So, what does that discipline actually look like in practice? Well, the source material breaks all this high level, abstract advice down into a very concrete, actionable checklist. It means expanding your mind by sitting down and reading for an hour daily. It means staying adaptable by intentionally learning a new skill, keeping your body and brain sharp through regular exercise, and, of course, managing your time wisely. Honestly, on their own, not a single one of these steps is overly complicated. They might even seem like really small, insignificant chores on any given Tuesday. But when you apply that discipline we just talked about and do them consistently, they compound. Over months and years, these simple daily habits are the exact formula that creates extraordinary, life-changing results.
And why is it so absolutely vital to lock down these habits right now? Because, guys, we are incredibly fortunate to live in an age where endless knowledge is quite literally sitting in our pockets. Just think about the sheer accessibility of these career paths today. Engineer, entrepreneur, artist, scientist, teacher, civil servant, whatever it is you want to be. The resources to learn and master that specific field are more accessible today than at any other point in human history. The barrier to entry just isn't access to information anymore. The only real question left on the table is, are you willing to step up, put in the actual sweat equity, and use those resources? And this brilliantly illustrates the exact mindset you need to tackle all these amazing resources. Consistency is so much more powerful than perfection. Seriously, so many of us get completely paralyzed because we want our first draft, our very first project, or our debut business idea to be absolutely flawless right out of the gate. We hold ourselves to this totally impossible standard, but dreams only become reality through real-world action. You've got to set clear goals, break those massive, intimidating dreams down into small, totally manageable steps, and then celebrate your progress along the way, no matter how tiny it seems. Consistently taking messy, imperfect action will always beat sitting around perfectly planning a move that you never actually make. So moving on to a crucial point here. Once you put in all that grueling work and finally get the degree, is that the finish line? Will your qualifications alone determine how far you go in life? We spend so much of our time obsessing over GPAs, shiny certifications, and piling on technical skills. And yeah, for sure, those hard skills are absolutely necessary. They're the literal key that unlocks the front door. But if we dig into the core message of our source material, the answer to this question is a loud, resounding no. Hard skills are simply not enough on their own to achieve lasting, deeply meaningful success. Because what truly dictates your long-term trajectory in life is your true north, your character. Your fancy qualifications might help you land a job, sure, but your character is what will determine if people actually want to work with you, if they want to promote you, or if they'd ever follow your leadership. You must never, ever underestimate the sheer power of kindness and integrity. Treat people with genuine respect, completely regardless of their status. Help those in need without secretly expecting something in return. And always remain humble, especially when you start hitting those big milestones. These are the core character traits that build deep, lasting relationships both professionally and personally. This fundamentally challenges how we measure our lives. Society is constantly shouting at us that success is strictly measured by the amount of money in your bank account or having some flashy title on your office door. But those are highly traditional and honestly somewhat superficial metrics. True success, the kind that brings genuine, sleep-well-at-night fulfillment, is measured by the positive impact you leave on others. When you operate with a rock-solid moral compass, you quickly realize that your ultimate legacy isn't about the stuff you acquired. It's entirely about how you uplifted the people around you. And let me tell you, integrating that moral compass into your daily life requires deep, personal integrity. It means making the choice to work hard when absolutely no one is watching. It's super easy to do the right thing or to study your heart out when the professor is looking right at you or when you're getting flooded with public praise. But who are you in the quiet moments? When you're slogging through a really tough phase of life, you're feeling totally discouraged and nobody is there to clap for your efforts. Man, that is exactly when your true character is forged. Having the integrity to stay the course in the dark is what absolutely guarantees you will shine in the light. Let's move to and see how this builds from just personal gain into something so much bigger. As a young adult and a citizen, you actually carry a broader responsibility. You aren't just getting this education to earn a comfortable living for yourself. You are actively being equipped to solve complex problems, to inspire others through your everyday actions, and to contribute meaningfully to your community. A nation only becomes stronger when its youth are not just highly knowledgeable, but also highly ethical and deeply compassionate. You guys are literally the architects of the society we are all going to live in tomorrow. To be that kind of architect, though, that requires a daily, active commitment. The future is not some predetermined event that just happens to us while we sit around passively waiting on the couch. It is something we actively build with our own two hands. So you have to make the hard choices every single day. Choose courage over fear when you're stepping into the totally unknown. Choose discipline over excuses when the work gets mind-numbingly tedious. And choose hope over doubt when the rest of the world is telling you it can't be done. You have to believe in yourself, especially in those moments when no one else does. Which brings us to our final and, honestly, perhaps most provocative question from the text. The world is out there, and it is waiting. It is waiting for your unique ideas, your untapped talent, and your specific, one-of-a-kind contribution. You've got the tools, you've got the mindset, and you absolutely have the power to shape what comes next. So, the world is waiting. What future will you create today?